Welcome to Biscuits and Tea with JP. Today's guest is Laura Tejada, and on our episode, we're going to be talking about her transition from agency to internal, employee retention, well-being, and loads of other stuff all around it. But before we get started, we're going to find out what tea she's drinking. What tea is it, Laura?
I've got
what brand?
Pucker, obviously. It's organic and, recyclable. Not recyclable, just you can put it in the garden.
Yeah.
And it's a lemon, ginger and manuka honey.
Oh, very nice. I like it. Well, mine's not quite as posh as that. Mine's a good old-fashioned Yorkshire tea.
Lovely.
And I like it builder strength.
Excellent. Sounds good. Yeah. What milk do you have?
Hey?
What milk do you have?
I have oat milk.
Oh, oat milk. Excellent.
Yeah. Adds to the flavour, apparently. And it's better for you. What have you brought along as a snack? Have you got a biscuit or have you gone off tea?
Oh, I ate most of it. So yeah. I've got a bit of leftover cake because I've been eating it before the call. But it's a chocolate homemade cake, not made by me. Birthday cake that I was given yesterday from someone else's birthday.
Oh, so it wasn't your birthday yesterday either? Then?
It wasn't my birthday, no. It was my mum's birthday. And she got about 3 cakes because she's very popular, so...
Well, I've brought my little office biscuit tin with me to keep them,
nice.
Intact and fresh. And I've got little almond biscuits.
Lovely.
Which, you know what, Laura? They are amazing. They're from Marks and Sparks.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, just plug in Marks and Sparks there if anyone's listening. Yeah. Very good. Almond biscuits. All right, nice. So Laura, whilst I have a dunk and a sip of my tea, right, the first question for you is what I want to find out is we've both been in recruitment for about the same amount of time, about 10 years. Yeah. And you've recently moved from agency side to internal. So wanted to find out really what that transition's been like for you.
Yeah. So it wasn't a transition that I originally chose. It was one where there was one of my clients, Extrinsica Global. I was advising them as an external client, and originally was going to help them with some consultancy and some RPO management. Yeah. And I got quite involved with the strategy, and they basically wanted me to come in as a head of people. Obviously, as you know, in recruitment, you can earn as much as you want and you can work as much as you want. So, you can work like 3 hours a day and you can still earn over a 6-figure salary if you do it right. Yeah. So the idea of moving internally was a big move, a big change. And at first I wasn't bought in, but then actually being a part of growing a business, getting to know the structure, the team, and actually being in the thick of it really appealed to me, and also the changes that I could make from the inside rather than just a consulting from the outside. But the change itself it was an eye-opener. First of all, I had no ideas of all the different complications that could happen within businesses, politics, growth strategy, progression plans, all of the HR side. All of that's been a big learning curve for me, because I've in the past just literally found out what it is they need, how help to advise them and help find that person, and then you place them and you check that they're happy in their job, and that's as much contact you pretty much have, unless you have like a friendship with someone within a business, which a lot of my businesses, they do become like friends after a time. But yeah, I mean, it was a big transition of going internal. And I think I paid the price of all of the times I've cold called businesses and chased up businesses, and I've chased up like 13 to 15 times at least. And every single time I got a little bit more information. I've realized now how annoying that is.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah,
it does work. I mean, it does work if you keep in touch. They will eventually throw you a bone. But my first week put some adverts up on LinkedIn and some videos and things, and I got like 400 messages from recruiters. And I was trying to be polite. In the end, I had to not respond, to be honest. And I still don't always, because I just can't. Unless someone messages again, they message again, and then eventually I'll reply. But my inbox is full, whereas my inbox never used to be full. It was, I was the one sending the messages. So I felt like I deserved that. It was like payback.
Yeah, I'm with you, yeah.
All the people I cold called.
Yeah.
Yeah. And part of me really misses sales. So I do miss that sales and researching companies and that side of things. And sometimes being an external consultant, I miss that, because You can just go in and advise a company, and you're not part of, you don't know any of the politics. You're seen as an external consultant, so you're highly respected sometimes. And I found that different, obviously, the transition to being internal. But no, it's been a really good learning curve, a really good move. And I think I've learned so many different ways that I would do it differently, as well as how to work with external recruiters. How to actually do it properly. It's been a big learning curve for me as well. So
I can imagine. Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions, actually, because, you know, we like you have been agency side for a long time, and I think it's well documented that the relationship between recruiter and internal team or HR team isn't always fantastic. You know, like yourself, a lot of people that I work with end up being quite pally with, and I build real good rapport with them. But initially it can be a little bit frosty, can't it? So what have you learned from that process then? Because now you're in that role of internal, and you've got loads of recruitment companies bombarding you. What do you think the differentials have been between those that are doing it well and those that aren't doing it so good?
Just like being a human being. So a lot of recruiters will contact me with these really professionally written smarmy messages like, oh, hello, Miss Laura, or I understand blah blah blah, and they go on and on about their business, and they go on and on about all the different people they can supply you, and we've got this big bank, and we've worked with these businesses, and I don't really care about any of that stuff. At the end of the day, I want to work with someone I'm going to be able to be honest with and have a good strong relationship. So I think sometimes don't talk about business, just literally get in contact, find out what they're up to, and short messages like the chat on LinkedIn. Sometimes, I don't know, you've got to find something where you're adding value, I think, because if someone sends me short messages, I know they're going to sell to me if I respond. They'll be like, oh, hi, Laura, how are you? I mean, that's a bit creepy, isn't it? But if someone, connects me on LinkedIn, starts to follow my content, starts to comment on my content, like to help me, to support me, sharing with my network, or they'll share my post. Oh, look what Laura's advertising for, she's looking for staff. Then actually I had one person do that. They continuously commented on my content. They supported me online. And then eventually I could see that they were a Microsoft recruiter. I reached out to them and I was like, what do you do? I want to work with you. You've been so supportive. How do I work with you? And then they were so down to earth and so normal and human. They didn't come back with this big sales spiel about how they've helped, Samsung recruit 300 people within 2 months or whatever, which I don't care. So I think it's just trying to be a human being. It's probably the best approach. Just like how you'd approach someone in a pub. You wouldn't go, hi, my name's John. I think you're really fit. I slept with Pamela Anderson. I slept with Theresa May. And also, I've had a lot of experience with women.
How do you know?
Do you want to come home with me right now?
You've seen my CV.
I know, well, you don't approach people like that though, do you?
No,
in
a
pub?
No.
You go up to them and you go, you're right. And then you usually maybe compliment them or be like, oh, I don't know. You think of something like, complimentary, or you're trying to support them, or you might help them, you see they're in trouble and you give them a hand.
I totally get it.
Sort of start a conversation. So if someone messages me and goes like, oh, I love that article and I thought this was really interesting that you put, like, good job. They don't then try and sell anything. I'm going to start to build a bit of trust in them. And then we'll start to build a bit of relationship. So that's been a big learning curve for me as well, because I've definitely put those terrible messages in the past. So
I totally agree with what you're saying there. And I think that I think it's not just recruiters. I think it's like sales in general. People forget that we're all human, and we don't, let's be honest, we don't like being sold to. I really don't like being sold to. If I go into a shop and somebody's all over me, I'm like, back off. And I'll walk out. And it's a bit like, LinkedIn, when you connect with somebody and then they, rather than the little hi, how are you messages, you get like a message that's that long that you have to scroll down to get to the bottom where it's a sales pitch. It's just finding that balance, isn't it? People want to be spoken to like a human being, not like a robot. They don't want to be sold to.
Yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Just be human and be yourself, rather than trying to be like this big corporate machine that you're not. You're a human.
Find a way. So do your research, look at their profile, look at their latest articles, look in the news, what that business has been up to, and mention, actually show that you've put an effort into learning about that business. So you could be like, oh, I saw that you just got investment. Just wanted to say massive congrats on that. You guys are going to smash it. And then just leave it alone, and then maybe get in contact a couple of months later like a week later and say, oh, I thought your article was really cool. Just wanted to let you know, thought that was really interesting. Or I saw you put a question out on LinkedIn. I'll share that post actually with a friend because they might be interested in applying. Yeah. And they'll see if you've got the right LinkedIn profile, they'll know what you do. And they might turn around and be like, well, actually, could you give me a hand? And if they don't ever do that, then I'm sure after a few interactions, you can say, oh, I see you've got a cloud consultant. How are you getting on with that? Do you need a hand or are you sorted? Rather than, we've worked on cloud consultant roles for 7 years, blah, 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 But yeah, that's been really interesting because I've definitely gone in with these terrible sales messages and, and bless them, a lot of them are young, usually lads in technology, young lads, and they've got their little suit on, and now they're doing videos as well, which is lovely, but they do this sort of awkward, stiff video that they send to you, like, hello, I work within such and such recruitment, blah, blah, blah. Hello, Laura. And it's a bit creepy. I mean, it does work because it's different to the messages, but just try and be like a human being and have a bit of a laugh. I don't know, send a gif of a llama jumping up and down. I don't know, something that's just
something a bit different.
Not a sales message.
I think the problem is that, look, most of the recruitment companies, most of the big recruitment companies hire people in droves, and the message to these people is, if you make enough phone calls, something will stick. Yeah. And then that's the approach. The approach is this wooden, repetitive, non-tailored message that goes out to 100 people a day. And some of that will stick, but if you want to build relationships and build relationships from the beginning, then you need to be a little bit more tailored and be yourself. And it's not going to appeal to everybody, but those people you do get the bites from are going to be people that are probably pretty similar to you in terms of the way you communicate and your personality, and you're going to enjoy working together. Yeah.
And the ones who bite easily will be biting on a lot of other messages as well. We'll probably have a PSL of about 20 recruiters. And you'll just be one of many, and you'll be treated like one of many. Whereas the ones who take a little bit of working around, a little bit of relationship building, they'll probably work with you exclusively. It's the hardest ones to bring on that, sometimes take a year to get on side, and then they'll finally give you that chance. They'll give you that project and you'll be their exclusive recruiter managing their whole RPO, or you'll be their recruitment partner. But yeah, I think it's definitely a lot of people, they don't spend the time and they don't, I think it's thinking about where their pain points are as well. I had, sort of where what I've found out now being internally is how stretched you are for time, how overwhelmed by messages. So it's finding something that stands out, that's different, something that's easy to respond to and not like a massive essay. So like, a super easy response I can put that I'm not having to think, oh, I'll respond to that later and then forget. Just thinking about, where are my pain points right now? Like, where am I struggling? What could they do that's actually going to help me? That's not a service. They could maybe just give me a bit of, not so much advice, but be like, oh, look at so-and-so, or maybe chat so-and-so, or I saw that you need some help in marketing. There's this really cool marketing company I've got to recommend, or I can get you to have a chat with Johnny and he'll go through some tips if you want. Just something that will help me, and then I'll remember them, won't I? Because I'll be grateful to them, and I'm more likely to, if they go, can I help you? I'm more likely to want to work with those people that have helped me.
No, I totally agree. I think offering something maybe that doesn't involve a placement and you taking a fee, giving away some of your advice and your time for free at the front end usually pays dividends at the back end, doesn't it? I totally agree with that. What have you, from external agency to now moving internal, have you adopted a different process for candidate attraction, or are you doing a pretty similar job to how you did it previously?
Well, previously I did work more with companies, and I acted as more of a recruitment partner. So I helped them with their branding. I'd put videos up for them. I'd have my own email under that business. So I was already starting to slide into more representing them and their brand. And that's how I like to work with recruiters as well. But yeah, I mean, what I do in regards to talent attraction, it's, you know, getting video up there so people can see you, they can see your culture, any behind the scenes videos, which we are yet to make, that we want to make. You know, silly things like, oh, here's our heads of wellbeings, and everyone has a little video of their dog, or all those things. Just shows the picture behind the scenes of what the company's actually like, what the culture's like.
Yeah.
And then, you know, like the job advert and things like that, you're making it about the person, the progression path, the benefits. If you can put the salary, obviously the salary, I prefer to advertise the salary. I know sometimes you can't always. But yeah, and then just well, headhunting has been my biggest draw, I guess, is the fact that the company like Extrinsica I'm working with, they're currently scaling up. Anyone who comes in right now, they've got a massive progression plan in front of them, progression path, because the company's going to scale. So there's going to be, you know, room to grow and, you know, go into leadership positions, and they're going to be able to be very, very resourceful. They'll probably be wearing lots of different hats. They'll be able to add a lot of value. So people who want to have some form of significance and be able to make a change and be able to share their ideas and actually be listened to by the CEO and the board of directors. Whereas other companies, you can't even speak to the CEO because they're so big. Yeah. That's been probably one of my biggest hooks. So, you know, and I've been able to hook people who are excited by the idea of working for that sort of culture and within that sort of environment. So very much all the job adverts are geared around that. And I would say another tip for talent attraction would be keeping the job advert short if you can, but obviously with all the stuff, you know, progression path, the team they'll be working with, the benefits, like where they can move, they're going to have a training fund, what the application process is, because if it's like an 8-step, you might as well tell them now. Preferably you want like a 2-3 step. But yeah, I found that's helped a lot with talent attraction, and I've been using this ATS system, so talent tracking, what's it called, applicant tracking system, called Team Tailor. Okay. And a lot of them are there's a lot of other ones as well, but having that proper careers page has really helped. So we added that to the website, and it's a careers page that shows the team, has photos of our, you know, climbing mountains, shows all the benefits in detail, and it's somewhere they can get a real feel for the business. And we can add a video of the CEO, and we can add all of that. And then the next step now is onboarding. So how we smarten that process up. But yeah, talent attraction piece there's some really good talent out there right now. But to be honest, at the moment, I've still got the luxury of headhunting most talent. But when it picks up, I will need to obviously depend on talent attraction and working with recruiters. So yeah.
I think I've picked up on something there, and I know that you've been doing it for quite a while prior to you know, going internal. You spent quite a lot with focusing on the attraction side and doing videos, and I think what I see from a lot of businesses, they just don't put anywhere near the effort, and most businesses don't put any effort into talking about what a new person joining the business is going to get. So it's all about what they want. So you need to have 5 years experience in C# development, or a cloud related project, or delivering XYZ, whatever it might be. It's all about what we want. We want this, we want that, we want this. Whereas if you, like you say, flip it on its head and just talk about what they're going to get, then you attract so many more people, don't you?
Yeah. Well, it's trying to attract the passive talent as well, because I don't want to just attract people who are desperate to get a job. So I want to help people who are trying to get a job, but I also want to attract people who aren't applying for 10 to 20 other jobs.
Exactly.
And are working within another Microsoft cloud company. They are doing a great job where they are, so there's no reason for them to move, but they see that hook in the job advert, or they see a video on LinkedIn someone shared of me blabbering on about a job, and they go like, well, yeah, most people get in touch with me because they just want to have a chat. So I call it a discovery call, the first stage interview, and it's literally just to find out if it's right for them. And the first thing I say is, it's not formal, it's not professional, it's not an interview. We're just going to get to know each other and see if it's a fit and go from there. And I find out what their motivations are, like what do they really want, and what's their long-term plan, like what sort of goals do they have personally. And It's also find out what are their hobbies. That's another thing recruiters don't do, is they don't ever find out what people's hobbies are. And actually, it's really important to, for culture match. A lot of people at Extrinsica, a lot of them are ex-forces, but they love some form of outdoors, or it could be running, cycling, Zwifting, whatever. And that creates like a really chatty culture. And we have our own Strava group, we have our own Microsoft Teams group where they chat and they, and everyone congratulates each other if you walk further than usual or whatever. And it's for all abilities. But we like really have some form of motivation of, and that it enables them to easily slip into
I'm with you. You've already got that common ground. You've already got conversation points, haven't you? Because you've got some, similar activities you do after work. It just makes it an easier transition, doesn't it? Because it doesn't matter how confident you are. If you join a new business, it's still a little bit nerve-wracking, isn't it? Because you're a bit worried about how well you're going to get on with people, or so those little things there definitely help. From now, again, internal. Okay, now this is probably going to help. There's probably going to be a lot of junior recruiters that are listening to this. What are the things that you, other than the 300 messages you get a day, I'm talking more about now when you get sent CVs, are there any kind of bugbearers that you have now, or the things that you've noticed where you think, oh God, I wish, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? So was it people not qualified properly? Is it the CVs not sent across and checked properly? Is there anything that stands out for you?
Yeah, so just a small tip that's not related to that question, but just for the juniors out there. In regards to picking up clients, my main tip is when you phone up a client, or you're cold calling a client, or you're emailing a client, or you're LinkedIn messaging, whatever, clubhousing a client, just be completely honest and literally tell them you have no idea what you're doing, you're completely new to this. Would they be willing to give you a chance? Because I did that probably for the first year of my career, because I ended up riding on it a little bit. And actually, a few companies, they just loved that fresh approach, and they loved the fact that I was just being honest with them. And I went through the yellow pages, and within 6 months I had 2 members of staff working for me, and I had all my own clients, because I was just honest and transparent on the phone. And I stopped saying we work with Nokia, Samsung, blah blah blah. I stopped saying that. I started just being like selling myself rather than my business. So at the end of the day, working with you, that's just a different tip. Sorry,
that's good tip though.
Yeah, so hopefully that's useful for the juniors, because it is really horrible having to cold call lots of companies, and you don't necessarily get hung up on, but getting people to tell you to go away. And I've seen a few people really lose their spark when they've done that. They phoned up very professionally, representing their business, and then they just get turned down and declined again and again, and it's hard. But yeah, in regards to my bugbears for recruiters, and what I've been finding is that a lot of it's when people send a CV, they'll take off the hobbies. A lot of companies will take that off. They won't find out about the person. They won't find out the motivation for wanting to come and join the company or wanting to leave. They don't bother with that. They just make it about the skill set, like, oh yes, well, they've been doing this for 3 years, blah blah blah, but they don't say, like, they would love to work for a startup, that they're looking to someone, for a company who's really going to listen to their ideas. They also love the fact that your company are into cycling and they're into cycling, silly things like that just make them a person rather than a candidate. So that approach, not anonymizing CVs. I hate that when they take all the details out, because at the end of the day, I'm an ex-recruiter. I will find that candidate. And if you anonymize, it's almost like a challenge for me to find them. So just put the details on, because I want to look at a LinkedIn profile. I'll probably look at their Facebook profile and Twitter, just because I want to get a feel for the person. If there's any red flags, which I have found a couple of times, but I just sort of like leave all the details on there, like let me see everything. And I know some recruiters, they're worried about grammatical errors, and they're worried about the formatting and it looking perfect and things, but I want to see how they've created their CV. It gives me a feel for the person. So they don't all need to be an Arial, text size 11 with your logo at the top, and it's not like we print them out anymore and compare CVs. Like most companies don't even use printers anymore. So
yeah. Do you know what? I really agree with the spelling aspect and the grammar and stuff, because also if you change all that stuff, it doesn't give you a true reflection of that person's capabilities.
Yeah.
And there's some roles where maybe that won't really matter, that there's errors. It won't really matter. But there will be other roles where it's imperative that there isn't errors, you know, because they have to do a lot of documentation, they have to do lots of presentations, they have to do whatever it may be. So I think if you change that stuff, you're not given a true reflection of who that individual is. And I don't think you should do that, personally.
Yeah. I can understand trying to get the best out of someone for a CV and then updating the CV. So, for example, jigging around, you know, adding a few things in if they haven't yet mentioned it, and helping the candidate to tweak it to the role and really helping them to shine. Because at the end of the day, it does get them through the front door. But yeah, not editing the whole thing and making it look like, you know, your brand CV that you send forwards, and with no details, no hobbies, it's just cold skills, and you just that's not seeing a person. At the end of the day, companies want people to join them, not just C# developers. Sometimes it's being the middleman. I think sometimes you've got to read the client you're working with, and sometimes they'll want to set up the interviews and they'll want to just pick up the phone and speak to the candidate, and sometimes they'll also want to make the offer, which I know is a challenging one, because some companies they'll lowball the candidate, which is really, like, they shouldn't do that. But sometimes I suppose you almost want the selfishness of giving the candidate the offer and hearing how they react. But I know it's unfair to take that away from the recruiter as well. But that's something I was challenged with, is, you know, I worked with a recruiter on a role, and I wanted to phone the candidate and tell them they'd been successful and make the offer, and just hear what they thought as well. But the recruiter wasn't very happy with me after that, and I know that I probably should have let them do it. But that's something that I probably need to learn how to do that.
I think
run it by them.
I think that can work both ways. I've done it both ways, and sometimes you just need to be flexible, right? You need to do what's best. You want to get that person the job. So whatever way that's going to work, if it's coming better from the client, then let the client do it. I kind of get what you mean, though, because you want to take the glory, right?
Oh, it's exciting, isn't it? When you're like, oh, we're going to bring in Luke, and you want to let them know as soon as you can, because you know they've been excited, you know they were nervous on the interview, you know they put loads of work into the PowerPoint, and you know you want to make the offer. But I know there are some companies who want to make that offer directly because they want to put an offer in at a, you know, 10k less than what that person asked for, which is awful. So I can understand why, you know, you have a middleman in it, but I suppose it's always going to be different in different situations. So that, and I suppose that the last thing is when I'm working with external recruiters, it's getting them to actually measure so there are some recruiters I work with who are actually been friends for many years, and I've always classed them as extremely good resources, you know, really good at what they do. And actually, when I asked them to help me on a couple of roles, I was quite shocked by, they sent me some candidates within like 2 days, which I know to find permanent, more passive talent sometimes takes a couple of weeks, you know, and then definitely to shortlist final 3 CVs. I always ask for 3 top candidates, so I don't end up getting bombarded with like 10 CVs that they just found on job boards. And that enables me to have less admin and paperwork to do. But yeah, I found that I was quite shocked by some of the people I would then interview, and I classed these to be really good recruiters. They didn't really have, they didn't fit the culture. They couldn't really communicate very well. It was almost like they hadn't actually interviewed them, you know. I was quite shocked, and especially for a lot of the roles I was recruited for were senior roles, so they need to have a form of communication skills. They need to have, you know, just something about them, and they were just very, very dry and very, very sort of, I have 5 years experience and I've done this and I've done that. And it was, you know, I suppose, I don't know how to say it.
It sounds like they're not taking the care and the level of detail that's needed when they put people forward, because you should qualify people in detail. You should know something about them, and they should know plenty about the business.
Yeah. You know, the only way I can describe it is, you know, when you interview someone and you instantly have a rapport with them, and you start to get, I call it like a sparkle. It's really corny, but you get like a sparkle where they're so easy to speak to, and they really can like describe themselves well, etc. They're the sort of people you want for senior roles, you know. And yeah, a lot of the people that were getting put forwards, they did not have that, and I couldn't have an easy conversation with them, and it was sort of awkward. And I think, don't put those people forwards for senior roles, put them forwards for not senior roles.
It's not, do you know what though?
They need to have those communication skills.
So. It's not fair on them, is it, at the end of the day? Because it's not their fault, and that they've been put in that situation. So I feel for them. But there's some great tips, to be fair. I mean, anyone listening to this that's doing all that stuff is going to be like crying in their cornflakes.
Hopefully it helps them.
Yeah, I hope no, it definitely will.
All those things.
It definitely will.
So you just learn through time, and yeah.
I know, I totally agree. So another question I had for you, Laura. I mean, I'm not sure if you'd done a lot of work on retention when you'd collaborated with other businesses, but have you learned, since going internal, have you learned a lot about employee retention and what companies can do to best look after their people so they're not, looking for new opportunities?
Yeah, it was an area that I was really passionate about actually as an external recruiter. So it was very much, there's no point in spending all that money on recruitment if you're going to lose them 6 months, a year later. And you bring people in with fire in their bellies, and you need to keep that fire alive, is the way I see it. And if you're a startup or a scale up or whatever, you're going to have challenges that are going to knock the wind from them. It's going to sort of dwindle that fire, and it's finding ways to keep that alight. So no, it's an area I'm super passionate about, and it costs you so much if you constantly having to replace people and backfill, and you're losing your best talent. And right now, talent can go anywhere because all companies are completely remote. So it's more important than ever to really think about your retention. And with retention, my main tips, I guess, would be, management, having really good managers in place who haven't just been promoted because they've been with the company for years, but they've actually been brought in because they know how to look after people, how to support people, how to mentor them and actually listen to them, and they actually care for their people. It's like a really specific skill set that many people don't have. I don't have it, for example. You need to have extreme patience of people and have different management approaches of everyone. I just have like one management approach, which is I manage people how I like to be managed. That's not a good manager. So the management's really important, the leadership, empowering people. So having those innovation projects, so bringing people in, finding out what their skills are, what they're actually good at, developing the things they're good at rather than developing the things they're bad at, because most people are bad at things because they don't like doing them. So if they're bad at admin, it's because they hate admin. So automate their admin and help them to be better at, let's say they love speaking, help them to get better at speaking, presenting. If they're bad at Excel, let someone else do their Excel. They're never going to enjoy doing Excel. So it's developing their good skills and letting them, and then they almost become like little superpowers within your team. You have someone who's an amazing speaker, someone who's amazing on Excel, who loves it, and you keep developing them on it. People are going to love where they are because they're good at what they do. But then you need to make sure you have a clear progression path. So part of, interview process, I think for every single role now should be that you have a 3-month, 6-month and 12-month plan. So you think about their 12-month outcomes within the job that they're about to join. And that's not just sales roles. It's like engineering, marketing, first line, second line. You think about, as a business, what outcomes we actually want from the hire. And you help them, or they maybe do it as part of their interview, but they deliver a strategy of, this is what I'll get done within 3 months, this is what I'll do within 6 months, this is what I'll do in 12 months. Then whenever you do their 3-month reviews and their appraisals, you can measure where they're up to on that plan, where they've been challenged. You can then, how can you support them to overcome those challenges? What are their next goals in play? And you can easily measure them. So I think having a clear plan in place before someone even joins, but then having a progression route. So if someone wants to progress from second line to architect, you need to have a skills matrix where they know these certifications I need to do, this is the experience I need to have, this is the leadership experience I need to have. Maybe you then could come up with some innovation projects that they can get involved in. So maybe they run a couple of, every now and again they'll run a meeting, or so they can get exposure to those skills. And then you're going to get people that are completely bought into your business, they're going to grow with the business, and you're going to end up, you know, growing all of your junior staff to senior staff who, you know, very much sort of embedded in the business, and then hiring in junior staff rather than losing them and having to hire in senior staff and spending so much more. And it just doesn't,
it's messy.
It's messy.
I've you know, listening to what you say there, it sounds like it's really important to tailor it to each individual rather than this like one size fits all, right? And it's like that's the same with management. You, like you just said, you can't manage everybody the same. You have to kind of change your style a little bit for everybody. And in order to retain good talent, you need to incentivize and keep people happy in different ways, because everyone's different, right? It's like in recruitment, you know, where I've worked, the incentives were always geared up for holidays away, everyone getting absolutely trashed for 3 nights. And don't get me wrong, that can be quite fun every now and then, but you know, you got to mix it up, because that didn't float my boat. After about 2 years, I was bored of that, and I wanted different incentives. You know, and you know, I didn't want to have a hangover as my incentive. I didn't want that. So it's really, like you say, it's looking at each individual, looking at them as the person, and right, how are we going to get the best out of this person? Because if we can get the best out of them, we're going to be able to retain them for many, many years, and they're going to be flying the flag for whatever company it is. I think that's the way to do it. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, definitely. And then actually, like, you know, what's the right word? Putting money towards not embracing, not empowering. Oh dear, I'm getting brain freeze.
Incentivizing.
Not incentivizing. No, where you're injecting money into people. It's like there's a simple word. Anyway, but investing. There you go. Sorry, investing in your teams. You know, investing in your staff. Finding out. I think sometimes it's actually finding out what their external motivations are as well. So not just their motivation in business, like, oh, what do you want to be, you know, where do you want to be 5 years down the line? It's finding out where they want to be 5 years down the line in their personal life. Do they want to be working remotely in Sweden? You know, do they want to have a cabin somewhere? Do they want to have another house? Do they want to have their own business? Do they want to quit the job and become a DJ? And it's sort of, how can you support them to get there? And then by supporting them to get there, you can build that almost into their business goals. Like, okay, this is how much you want to be making commission wise, or this is how much, and making it all about them. But in return, they're going to be doing the work for you, you know? So I think it's incentivizing people depending on what their motivations are externally. And then obviously there's the whole wellbeing piece, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, that was going to be the last question, actually. I mean, what during lockdown, what have you done for your own personal well-being? And it's a 2-part question. So what have you done for your own personal well-being, and what do you think companies should be doing for people's well-being within the business, and, you know, coming back to work and stuff in the next month or 2, whatever it might be?
Yeah. So God, that's like 3 questions, really.
3 questions. All right. That's 3 questions. Sorry.
So for my own well-being during lockdown and over the last year, I love to travel, and I always have things I like to have a lot of fun. You know, my main motivation to work hard is to travel and explore and go on trips and things, which obviously that had a big impact. And I'm you know, very sort of love to be with family and things like that. So I found that really challenging. I found making small things to look forward to and being quite creative, to have things to look forward to at home, you know, making little surprises, or, you know, for my wife, I'd like be like, well, you know, surprise her and make a little picnic in the lounge with the fire on or something. You know, and you put music on of birds singing, or, you know, just creative ideas, but creating small things that you look forward to, and then celebrating the small things. Obviously appreciation and gratitude and all of those things. I know a lot of people know a lot about now, but, you know, learning to calm the mind and being okay with uncertainty, I think, was a big one. You know, knowing that, you know, not really knowing what the industry is doing, things like that, sort of learning to be okay, and almost, and this sounds a bit corny now, but it's almost trusting in the universe, just, you know, trusting that everything is going to happen for a reason. And at one point, you know, I got quite dark at one point during lockdown. I was sort of thinking, you know, this virus is going to change, and this is the end of humanity, and these are like our last years. It was really, really dark. But I just started thinking like that, because I was like, they can't keep on top of this, they can't beat a virus, etc. It's all really terrible thoughts you don't want to be thinking. But yeah, I started sort of this hopelessness, I guess, and then it made me realize how important it is to have hope.
Yeah, very important.
So yeah, and that whole trusting in the universe, everything happens for a reason, and all of that, and the gratitude, the gratefulness, like just thinking of all the small things that you're grateful for. And I suppose it's lowering your expectations and increasing your appreciation. So a lot of that, and then it's fuel as well. So what you feed your mind, so what you're watching, what you're reading, the social media you're looking at, what you're eating. If you're eating like, fry ups every night, that's going to affect how you feel and how you think. And then it's sort of how you're treating your body, how you're looking after your body, how much sleep you're getting, if you're getting exercise, if you're having time to switch off or time to be creative. I think at one point I was looking at news apps all the time, looking at the news every morning, looking at the numbers, looking at the horror movies on Facebook, videos in Italy and stuff. And it was all really scary and, thinking worst case scenario. And in the end, it was sort of like, I just sort of reduced it down to my little bubble. And then I more concentrated on contribution. So I did like startup school, and how I could actually help people, what I could contribute, how I could help other people that were really struggling, like especially elderly and vulnerable people at home on their own for months. So I did a little thing on Facebook called Victoria's Vulnerables. And I basically got people to do little gardening sessions, little workout sessions, and giving them purpose again, and just a bit of a laugh. So we had people joining up from America and all over, and I was like dancing and doing all sorts of random things on there.
Sounds interesting.
That was really good.
Yeah.
And
Gutted I didn't get an invite. Gutted I didn't get an invite.
Quiet. I didn't want any of my friends to see it.
Oh, okay.
I tried to go for like over 70s. But that was good. In regards to team wellbeing, we've got, so I noticed that people were feeling more isolated and lonely than ever, especially younger people or people living on their own. So Microsoft Teams, we just created 3 different team groups. We created a kitchen, which is like, can't be monitored. It's like anyone can say what they want. You share different things for inspiration. People share pictures of their dogs, different challenges within the team, stuff like that. We had more get-togethers, so like quizzes and just a bit of a laugh. Monthly, we sent out little treats to people. So we sent out chocolates and we sent out, whatever it was that was specific to them. So we made it not just like everyone got roses, like everyone got their favorite thing. And we did a health group as well, which people shared different meditations, different yogas. We did some joint yoga sessions, did some joint meditations, really got into all the Wim Hof stuff.
Cold showers.
I got into Wim Hof, the cold showers, the ice baths, and like I personally have done a lot of personal development stuff. So did a lot of the Tony Robbins courses, Unleash Your Power Within, did the Wim Hof fundamentals course. I've been doing loads of learnings like business mastery and all of that stuff. So it's been a really I feel like the last year probably learnt more in like the last year than I have in about 10.
No, I totally agree.
And in regards to the networking as well, the networking has been so much more thoughtful the last year. So that, but yeah, anyway, but within the teams, we also wanted to empower more people. So allowing people to run quizzes themselves and come up with ideas themselves for the teams. We trained up 3 people in MHFA, and they're now doing wellbeing strategies for the company, coming up with ideas, and they're having regular meets to think of different things we can test out and trial out. And then the third question was returning back to the office, wasn't it?
Yeah, getting back to work. What do you think we can do to support people? Because anxiety is going to be a thing. There's going to be some portion of the population that are going to be a bit anxious about going back to work. Have you guys thought about that? Have you considered that? Or
I mean, I personally don't know what I'm going to wear but slippers.
That's a good look. The dressing gown.
It's just but yeah, so no, on that, what we've personally done at Extrinsica is we did a anonymous survey, and we asked people how many days a week would they like to be in the office. And we've made it where no one has to come to the office unless they want to. So we've made it, most people have said they'd like to be in the office 2 days a week. A lot of people, they can't be in the office at all. But the next complication is going to be hybrid working. So how do we do that? We're starting to think about how are we going to have team meetings meetings with a load of people at home, a load of people in the office. Also, how do you have policies in place to, you know, if someone lives in Scotland and they want to come to the office 4 days a week, you need to make it clear that you're not paying their expenses.
Yeah.
You know, they are classed as a remote worker, and it's only if they're asked to come to the office that we pay expenses. But I think going forwards, the way that I've actually done it previously, because I worked for a remote business for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And every month we would have a get together that was purely had a social aspect to it. So we were allowed just to chat and catch up and, you know, have a hug, and, you know, all within our individual teams, we got to, you know, have a good catch up. And then we had a team in India as well, and they all joined via Zooms. They were all, yeah, they're on their laptops.
Yeah.
And then different people would run the meeting. So it wasn't just ran by leadership team. It was ran by everyone within the company, like even the new joiners and the most junior staff, that they would have something that they ran within the meeting. And it'd all be about innovation for the business. So, you know, where was the business going with sales? Everyone would contribute ideas for sales. Where is the business going with marketing? Everyone would contribute ideas. What are we doing with recruitment? It was all super transparent, super like the business is being led from the ground up. And yeah, it was just a really nice communication style. So that worked really well. And I think that's how businesses could do it now, is that they have that once a month meeting where people can attend via laptop, or they actually come in and they have their expenses paid to come in that once a month. And then it's going to be, what's going to be challenging is when I went back to the office after having 5 years away from an office, and I only went back 2 days a week. So this is what other people are going to be doing. They're going to be doing this hybrid model. I found that because I was so overwhelmed by being surrounded by people, and obviously everyone's in this weird box all staring at each other. It's quite strange when you haven't done it for a while. But yeah, I mean, I found I was extremely distracted. I hardly got any work done, and I wanted to chat to everyone all the time.
Yeah.
And then I'd get home and I'd work from home for 2 days, and I'd get everything, you know, try to get everything done in those 2 days. But the days in the office, I just wanted to chat to everyone. So I think it's almost like for the hybrid team companies who are going to have remote and on-site, or a mixture of both or whatever, it's making sure they've actually got that time aside where they can socialize, because they're going to come back in the office and they're going to want to chat. So you could almost, I suppose, the days they are in the office, have a plan of intention. So what can you get best done when you're in the office, and what can you get done the best when you're at home? So at home, you can get your head down, you can really think, you can do research tasks, you can do tasks on your own. Any tasks you can do within a team, plan those for the days you're in the office. Have your meetings when you're in the office, you know, have your like innovation hubs when you're in the office. It's sort of trying to really think about those days, and utilize them properly, because otherwise they're going to be extremely distracted and they're going to get 50% of the work done.
Yeah, so that's so true. I think you're right, you know, because when people go back to the office, it's going to be a bit of a novelty, isn't it? So it's going to be like, what have you done for the last 18 months?
Yeah.
Oh, gardening, decorating. But there will be but you know, all jokes aside, there is going to be that novelty, isn't there, where, you know, we're all back together and we're all going to want to chat. So I think you're right there. There needs to be some kind of structure to it. Otherwise, they'll just be everyone will be talking.
Yeah, but give them that time to socialize as well. Be like, okay, we're going to have 2 hours socializing in the morning, and then we're going to, you know, give them that time to catch up. You know, you could even do it where you do a, like, you know, like blind, what's it called? Speed dating around the tables. You could do it like that. Like,
but I've seen it on TV.
Go. Swap around the tables, all get to know each other. You know, and they'll probably chat more than they ever have in the past. And you'll have a stronger team for it. But you definitely need to create days that have, you know, intent to them when you're in the office, and intent for when you're at home, because you can get different types of tasks done. And socializing with your teammates isn't a bad task. No, you just measure it out a little bit.
No, it's good. Look, the thing is, we all know if the team gets on well, if there's good harmony and good balance within a team, then they're more productive, right? But definitely. There just needs to be, like you say, that bit of balance. Look, Laura, I know, I think we've overrun a little bit. I know you had a meeting and we've definitely overrun.
It's not a meeting, it's my lunch.
Oh, is it? Oh, man. All right. Okay. Well, we're eating into your lunchtime, literally eating into it. So
I've been eating cake.
Thank you very much for your insights and all the experience that you've shared on this. If there's anybody listening, be that a recruiter, somebody that's working internal, someone in HR, if they wanted to reach out to you and discuss any of the points that you've made today about attraction and retention and well-being, etc., what would be the best way for them to contact you, Laura?
So it'd be on LinkedIn. Yeah. So, and you just find me in the Laura Tejada, Tejada for Tejada.
Tejada.
Challenging one.
All right, great. Well, when I post this, you'll be all over it anyway, so it won't be difficult for them to find you. Thanks very much. Thanks very much for being a guest today.
Thank you. Great chatting to you, John.
Great speaking to you.
Enjoy your biscuits.
Oh, I will. I've got a whole tin full, so I'm going to eat all of them. And if there's any candidates or clients listening to this that need help either finding cloud or data work, or finding candidates in the cloud in data arena, then by all means, please contact me via LinkedIn as well. Have a great day. Cheers, Laura. Thanks very much.
Thank you.